close to home, and the picture wasn't always clear. So once you set up the expectations of who's doing what, let people go and do it, I think would be a message that I would share. After the event, I think there's a whole richness of learning that can be achieved. So I talk about in the context of review and evaluate. It may be a debrief. For us, it was a debrief with our children of actually thinking about the fire and the events and the threats that they've gone through. What did we do well? Where did we fail? Recognise extraordinary achievements. There will be people that will make a lot of self-sacrifice for the organisation and for others, and I think it's a great thing to be able to recognise it. Celebrate the wins. The wins may be as modest as we didn't lose any lives. That's actually a great win. Businesses can be rebuilt. It's a whole lot difficult when there's a loss of life. And then I think the other thing that I would share is don't underestimate the adrenaline rush that people have in the moment of a crisis. So people will work very, very hard. They'll make huge sacrifices. But as the weeks pass after the event, there's a huge amount of fatigue that sets in. And I think from a leadership standpoint, it's really important to acknowledge it and to support people through that once the media's gone, once the hype is gone, once the business is back to some sense of normality. And then, once all of that's done, that begins the next cycle of building the plan. And the plan should become better because there should be a whole lot more learning from having gone through example number 4, or point number 4. So with that, I'm going to let us get on towards some questions. And what I would encourage you to think about is the questions and the experiences that you might want to share. So thank you.
Thanks, Bernard. While Elton's making his way to the podium, Elton Miller is the General Manager Food and Agribusiness with DEDI here in Queensland. Elton's worked in areas such as economic research, pest management, the water and industry development areas. He currently heads the food and agribusiness area of DEDI and is responsible for industry development policy. Part of his responsibilities in this role include responses to natural disasters, including the Queensland floods in 2010 and 11, and Cyclone Yasi from an agriculture and food supply chain perspective. Thank you, Elton.
Okay, I think the session goes to about 11:15, so I'll do a very abridged version of my presentation, so it might allow some time for some questions for all three of us. But I just want to sort of recognise that the Queensland Floods Commission of Inquiry is ongoing and that there's going to be an interim report in August and a final report next February. And also want to acknowledge and recognise the impacts that individuals, businesses and communities suffered and continue to suffer as a result of the floods and cyclones and the terrible loss of life that occurred. But I'll just spend a few minutes talking about government's response to some of those natural disasters, and I'll just move through very quickly some of the initial stuff. Suffice to say that the Queensland Government and that our Department of Employment, Economic Development and Innovation has quite substantial risk management processes in place. And it's all about identifying and assessing risks and also the importance of developing contingency plans. So when the Bureau of Meteorology started coming out with their forecast late last year that there was going to be a very high chance of above average rainfall and the possibility of cyclones crossing the coast, all the processes within our department kicked into place and the units started meeting and discussing what we might do if that eventuated, but we had no real understanding of how bad the natural disasters would become, but we certainly were undertaking planning. And it's also the importance of contingency plans, and people from our department met with the major retailers to ensure that contingency plans were in place for food supply continuity. As I said, DEDI's got a very substantial risk management approach, and part of it is also how our own department can operate and when, in the event of a natural disaster, that our employees and some of our own infrastructure will be impacted. I'll just brush through that and just get to this main response slide. Don't worry about the detail too much. It is very much a local, regional, state and then up to the federal approach integrated. It covers response and recovery type issues. But what I might focus on is the DD hazard-specific reference groups, and I'll call them control groups. So when a natural disaster occurs, we meet with industry and the supply chain to talk through the issues as they're occurring. And that's just one of the examples of a disrupted supply chain. So the industry control groups. So when it occurs, we pull together the control group, and we had 3 of them over the last several months. When the initial flooding started occurring in November and December, we brought together an agriculture flood control group with the main agri-peaks. When the flooding in southeast Queensland got worse, we pulled together some of the main food processors, the abattoirs, the retailers, and the key fresh food companies to work on issues that were a problem for them, because they were trying to address those issues and government was trying to assist to facilitate the outcomes. So it's very much the control groups are activated as quickly as we can do it after an event occurs. It's government representatives meeting with key supply chain people, and it's designed to address the specific supply chain issues that are occurring at the time, and it's working in real time. So just a couple of examples of the outcomes that occurred. During Cyclone Yasi, the Department of Transport and Main Roads hotline and website was struggling to keep up to date with the road openings and closures, so we developed an SMS service that could provide even a better real-time information to the transport companies while the TMR website was being fixed. We facilitated, and the Premier was involved in this, the backloading of barges with pineapples from Yeppoon to Gladstone, where about 1,300 tonnes of produce was able to be landed at Gladstone and then get into onto the road network. Likewise, with the Biosecurity Queensland, facilitated cutting through red tape for the bananas to allow between 100 and 200,000 cartons of bananas that were on the ground to be delivered to markets through an ICA. It's very close to the end of the session now. I just wanted to say that we also developed industry recovery plans, which not only addresses the immediate response, but it's all about recovery as well, and then preparing for the future. I might just leave it at that to allow a little bit of time for questions to the panel.
If you could just use quickly, if you want to ask a question, quickly move to the microphone, please.
Frank Van Ryn, tomato grower from New Zealand. Just very quickly, how do you go about counteracting viral media such as Facebook and Twitter and the like? Very easy to fire a loose shot off, and the whole industry, struggles to survive.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that. I don't know anyone who does. This is the whole issue in response. Are you actually addressing an issue, or are you adding more fuel to the fire? And as you know, that sort of media takes no prisoners, and is not likely to see the positives that you're trying to put into the media under that sort of pressure type circumstance. So I don't know how you respond to that. We're seeing that unfold in Europe right now, aren't we? And the damage that's being done by people making statements that they don't have the evidence to support. I don't have an answer. Anyone else? But it's something we haven't, had to really consider. These things we know about them just about before they happen, with Twitter and these sort of things. And I just, it's something we haven't contended with. I think the strategy, about communication internally that was spoken to here. But if you think about the Mars extortion event, at 5 to the hour, twice a day, 5 to 9 in the morning, I think it was, and 5 to 4 in the afternoon, the CEO communicated the messages to the media, and the media knew that was going to happen every day during that extortion event. And so that's their way of trying to combat whatever other rubbish people want to come up with. here's the CEO, leadership, communication, these are the facts. I don't know whether you can do better than that. That's a good point. That's got to be part of the plan. You've got to actually expect that someone's going to try to sink your boat pretty quickly.
And another option is that industry and government needs to consider using those technologies as well to try and combat it a bit.
It's a very good point. Yeah. You suggesting we don't? You'd be right. Look, no other burning questions? I hope you found that interesting. I'm sure the three of us are willing to discuss any other issues further on. Feel free to contact us. And thank you for attending this session. I hope you found it of use and interest and value. Thank you.